I still can't believe I'm saying this out loud, but 3 days ago, my entire life blew up. My wife, well, now ex-wife, tried to completely destroy me during what was supposed to be our 10th anniversary celebration. What she didn't know is, I saw it coming, and I recorded everything. This isn't a story I ever thought I'd share. I'm not the type to air out personal drama online, but I'm still in shock, trying to make sense of how someone I loved for 10 years could flip so suddenly and so cruelly. I'm using fake names here. Let's go with Nick and Rachel, because honestly, if anyone from that night hears this, they'll know exactly who we are. Until 3 nights ago, I truly believed I had a decent marriage. Not perfect, nobody does, but stable. We had a shared life, future plans, and history. I thought we were in it together. But Rachel had other ideas. She's always been intense, the kind of person who goes from calm to chaos in seconds if things don't go her way. She'd yell, slam doors, throw whatever was in reach, then go completely silent until you gave in. And yeah, I stuck around. For years. Because I loved her. Because I convinced myself it was worth it. Because I kept thinking, this is just who she is, I can handle it. I didn't even notice how much I'd changed. I learned to read her moods like weather forecasts, tiptoe around her storms, and say yes even when I wanted to scream no just to keep the peace. Looking back, I don't know if I was married or just managing a crisis on a loop. But nothing, not the fights, not the manipulation, could have prepared me for what she pulled at our anniversary party. Before I get to the big haha moment, let me give you a taste of what life with Rachel was really like. About 3 years ago, we were planning some major updates to our house. Nothing crazy, just redoing the kitchen and the master bath. We'd been saving for it forever, and I was genuinely excited to make the place feel like our own. Rachel jumped in and took control, which was fine. She's always had an eye for design. But then she picked a contractor she just loved after one meeting. No research, no second opinions. The quote he gave us was way above our budget, and everything about it set off alarms for me. He promised a full kitchen demo and rebuild in 2 weeks. Anyone who's remodeled knows that's a joke. The materials were listed as premium and high-end, with zero actual details. I calmly suggested we get a few more quotes just to be smart about it. I wasn't rude, I was just being cautious. You'd think I'd insulted her whole family. She exploded, said I didn't trust her, and accused me of ruining everything. Total meltdown. After I suggested we get a second quote for the kitchen remodel, Rachel lost it. I mean, full-blown meltdown. She started shouting that I was sabotaging the whole project, that I didn't trust her judgment, that I always found fault with her ideas just to make her feel stupid. Then she stormed out of the room, slammed the door, and for the next 2 days, she didn't say a single word to me. 2 days. I was invisible in my own house. All because I asked for a few extra estimates. You'd think I accused her of committing a crime. Eventually I got creative. I started leaving horror stories about bad contractors open on my laptop screen. She'd walk by and glance, pretending not to read, but I knew she did. After a few days, she agreed quietly to get another quote. And wouldn't you know it, the second contractor was way more reasonable, found all sorts of issues the first guy didn't even mention, and had a much more realistic timeline. She went with that company in the end, but never acknowledged she'd been wrong. No apology, no hey, thanks for pushing for that, nothing. She just acted like the second contractor had always been her plan. And honestly, I didn't even push it. I was just relieved we weren't getting scammed. I mentally added it to the list of fights not worth picking. Fast forward to about 18 months ago. It was my turn to pick our annual vacation spot. We'd always taken turns, and it worked great, until it didn't. We had talked before about doing a nature trip this year, maybe a cabin near a national park, go hiking, and disconnect for a bit. She always seemed to love that stuff. We'd done a few outdoor trips in the past, sitting by a campfire, sipping wine, talking under the stars. Honestly, those were some of the best memories of our relationship. So I started planning. I had a whole folder of ideas, cabins near Yosemite, guided trail packages, even places that delivered gourmet meals to your cabin so you didn't have to cook. I dropped hints for weeks. Rachel asked questions, seemed interested, even excited. Then one day she came home waving a luxury travel magazine. She had discovered a 5-star Caribbean resort with private pools, personal butlers, the whole 9 yards. And just like that, our cozy outdoor trip turned into her fantasy island getaway. The problem? It was 3 times what we'd budgeted for. When I reminded her of our plans and the budget, she lost it again, said I was being difficult just to ruin things for her, claimed all our friends took trips like that, and I was making her feel poor, completely untrue. I wasn't being cheap, I was being responsible. Then came the dramatics. She threw a decorative pillow across the room, which hit and cracked a wedding photo on our shelf. Ironic, right? She announced we were going to the resort, and if I didn't like it, she'd book it herself. She slammed the bedroom door so hard, a painting fell off the wall. I spent that night on the couch. The next morning, I brought it up calmly. "Do you want to talk about last night?" She blinked at me like nothing had happened. No acknowledgement, just moved on. And that was Rachel. Blow up, shut down, then erase it like it never existed. The next day, Rachel went ahead and booked the resort, charged it straight to our joint credit card before I could say anything. I didn't fight it. What was the point? She'd already decided, and I knew from experience that pushing back would only lead to days, maybe weeks of cold shoulders and passive-aggressive jabs. So, yeah, we went to this fancy resort. It was beautiful, sure, but I couldn't enjoy any of it, not with how it all played out. That was the pattern in our marriage. Anytime I disagreed with her, she'd blow up, give me the silent treatment, and in the end, still do whatever she wanted. My role? Stay calm, absorb the blast, and eventually give in, because dealing with the fallout was always worse than just going along. Our friends used to joke that Rachel wore the pants in our relationship. They'd nudge me and say, "Happy wife, happy life, right, Nick?" And I'd laugh. Because what else could I do? Admit I was afraid of my own wife's temper? That I'd given up, trying to be her equal? I get how toxic the dynamic was. I really do. But when you're in it, day after day, it just becomes your normal. You adapt, you minimize, you tell yourself, every relationship has its quirks. And I did love her. We had good times. But living in constant fear of the next blow-up, always tiptoeing around her moods, always feeling like my opinions were second tier, it wore me down. Slowly, then all at once, I didn't fully understand how much damage had built up until everything fell apart 3 nights ago. It was our 10th wedding anniversary. We were hosting a dinner party at this beautiful event space downtown. Around 50 guests, our close friends, some of my coworkers, and Rachel's family, including her parents and 2 younger brothers. My own family couldn't make it. They live overseas. Parents retired in Portugal, sister in Australia. Looking back, that was probably a blessing in disguise. They didn't have to see what happened. Up until that moment, the night was going great. The food was amazing, people were laughing, the bar was open, and the vibe was warm. A few guests even gave little toasts over dinner, sharing funny memories and sweet words about us. Rachel seemed genuinely happy. She was smiling, holding my hand under the table, whispering jokes about the speeches. It felt like we were on the same page for once. After dinner, I was planning to go up to the stage area and say a quick thank you to everyone. Maybe say something heartfelt about our journey together. But before I could even stand up, Rachel beat me to it. And she wasn't alone. She stepped onto the stage with her boss, Michael. I hadn't even seen him arrive, and to be honest, I didn't know he was invited. We never talked about him being there. Apparently, he showed up about an hour into the party. Rachel had stepped out earlier, and I guess that's when she went to meet him. Even her family seemed surprised. I caught her dad exchanging a confused glance with her mom when Michael walked in. Rachel grabbed the mic, and just like that, the room fell silent. She had this strange smile on her face. Not her usual polite smile for photos. It looked victorious, cold. Then she started speaking. She said this night wasn't just about celebrating 10 years of marriage, it was about a new beginning for her. I remember thinking maybe she got a promotion or was launching a new business. But I couldn't have been more wrong. Without warning, Rachel got on stage and announced she was leaving me. Just like that. In front of 50 people, our friends, her family, coworkers. I couldn't breathe. It felt like someone had taken a vacuum to my chest and sucked all the air out. I remember standing there thinking, this had to be a joke, some kind of sick prank. But it wasn't. She pointed to her boss, Michael, standing confidently beside her and said she was leaving me for him, because according to her, he was man enough to give her what she needed, a child and a future. Those 2 words, man enough, ripped through me. We'd been trying to have a baby for years. Just a month ago, I found out I had some fertility issues. It wrecked me inside. It was something we'd only discussed with immediate family, and now she was weaponizing it, publicly, like it was my shame to bear. She continued, voice calm and rehearsed. This is happening now. This is my choice. I'm moving forward. She sounded like she was announcing a business pivot, not ending a 10-year marriage. I was frozen, I couldn't even blink. Guests sat in stunned silence. Emily's father looked like someone had knocked the wind out of him. Then he stood, pointed at her, and, in a voice that shook, said, "Your behavior is shameful, Rachel. The things you are saying about Nick are cruel and untrue. Doing this in front of everyone, it's beneath you." Her mother stood next, tears in her eyes. "We didn't raise you to humiliate the people who love you. We do not support this, not one bit." And then came the final blow, Her father, steadying himself, said, "Because of this, what you've done tonight, we consider you to have cut yourself off from this family. We disown you." The room gasped. Rachel's brothers stood and followed their parents out. She called after them, panicked, but none of them looked back. If I hadn't believed what was happening before, I believed it now. If her own family, the ones who always had her back, walked out on her, this wasn't just betrayal. This was madness. Michael tried to calm her, placed a hand on her arm. She jerked away, screaming something I couldn't make out. The cool, collected Rachel I had just seen was gone, replaced by someone hysterical and unhinged. I don't know how I got to the stage, maybe my body just went on autopilot, but I remember how quiet it was as I stood beside her. I looked her dead in the eyes and said, "You both need to leave." Michael tried to respond, "Nick, let's talk," but I cut him off. "No, you need to leave, before I make you." There was something in my voice that told him I wasn't bluffing. They grabbed their things and left. Rachel didn't look back. Suddenly I was on the stage alone, 50 people still staring, unsure of what to do. I took a breath and said, "I think the party's over. Thank you all for coming." My voice cracked at the end. That was it. That's all I could manage. People quietly started packing up. Some came by, hugged me, patted my back, whispered apologies. I nodded. I couldn't really hear them. It felt like I was underwater. Every motion was slow, distant. Eventually, only the venue staff remained. I stayed and helped clean, partly out of obligation, mostly because I needed something, anything, to focus on. I signed the final bill, thanked the manager, and left. When I walked into our home, my home now, it felt cavernous, cold. I sat on the edge of our bed, stared at the floor, and eventually broke down. 10 years of my life had just collapsed in front of an audience. When I finally checked my phone, there were messages. From Rachel. Shock, I can't believe they did that to me. Guilt, I shouldn't have done it that way, but you need to understand I have to move on. Spin, we should see a counselor. This was a cry for help. Blame, if you had listened to me more, maybe it wouldn't have come to this. Each message contradicted the last. Guilt, then blame, then negotiation. That was Rachel to a T. Never fully accountable, always performing, always rewriting the story. But this time, I said nothing. Not because I was angry, because I was finally done. The next morning, I contacted a divorce attorney and scheduled an appointment. I wasn't second-guessing myself. I just needed to make this official. I'm writing all of this down, not because I'm unsure, but because I'm still trying to process how everything unraveled in one night. Update! Thanks to everyone who commented on my original post. A few of you asked about the party and how Rachel's family reacted. Well, after the shock wore off, Rachel went from stunned to furious. When she realized I wasn't playing along with her twisted version of events, her texts came nonstop, begging, blaming, threatening. She said I was ruining her life, that I was overreacting. "We can fix this," she wrote. "You're acting like a child. You'll regret this. Everyone's going to know you were never really there for me." I didn't respond. Not one word. I saved every message and forwarded the threatening ones to my lawyer. He advised me to stick to strict no contact, no calls, no replies. Everything should go through legal channels. It was solid advice, especially once Rachel hired her own attorney and started flipping the script. She told anyone who would listen that I had abandoned her, that she felt emotionally neglected, and that her public breakup speech was just a moment of weakness. But the thing was, I didn't need to defend myself. The truth spoke for itself. 50 people saw her humiliate me. Her own family disowned her on the spot. When she tried to demand alimony, claiming our decade of marriage and income gap gave her that right, my lawyer and I were ready. We told her legal team that if she pushed it, we'd bring forward sworn statements from guests, co-workers, even her parents, all confirming what really happened. She dumped me publicly for another man and got cut off by her own family. We weren't threatening, we were being clear. Within days, her lawyer backed off, she dropped the claim. But that wasn't the end of her unraveling. News of what she'd done spread fast. Her dad went public, stating they no longer considered her part of the family. Her mother reportedly refused to even take her calls. 2 months later, I heard through friends that Rachel had either quit or been fired from her job, Michael's company. No one knows whether he cut her loose to save face or if she became too much of a liability. Either way, she lost her position and couldn't land anything similar. Eventually, she had to move in with a cousin she barely got along with. No job, no support, no credibility. Her version of events couldn't hold. Most people kept their distance. Only a few stayed neutral, but no one really bought what she was selling. Me? I stayed quiet. I worked. I focused on my health. I didn't ask anyone to take sides. because the people who mattered were already there that night. They knew. When the divorce was finalized, she got nothing beyond what we'd agreed on. No alimony, no share of my retirement. I kept the house and the car, both of which I paid for, and for the first time in months, I could finally breathe again. Still, that night haunted me. Her voice, Michael's smug expression, the silence in the room, those memories would sneak up on me in the quiet. But each day, the weight got a little lighter. My friends stood by me. My coworkers respected how I kept my dignity. And deep down, I knew I'd done the right thing. I didn't fall apart. I held the line, and I survived. Rachel ended our marriage in the most public, humiliating way imaginable, on the stage at our anniversary party. Her family disowned her right then and there. The next morning, I filed for divorce. She tried to claim alimony, but my lawyer and I made it clear, if she went that route, we'd present the full picture, witnesses, documents, statements from her own parents. She backed down and withdrew the request. Not long after, she lost her job. Whether she was pushed out or quit, I don't know, and I don't care. The company where she and Michael worked clearly didn't want the fallout. With her finances unraveling, she had to move in with a cousin she barely got along with. That's where she is now. No job, no financial support from me, no contact with her family. The divorce is finalized. We divided our assets, clean and simple. I kept the house and the car, and the court issued the decree. We haven't spoken since. Any necessary communication goes through our lawyers, but even that has become rare. As far as I know, her parents still won't speak to her. Nothing's changed there. This is my final update. It's over. 7 months of chaos, heartbreak, and rebuilding. The worst chapter of my life. For anyone wondering about Michael, he didn't last. From what I've heard, they broke up around the same time she left the company. I don't know the details, and I truly don't want to. That part of the story no longer belongs to me. Now I'm focused on moving forward. This whole ordeal, as painful as it was, forced me to see the truth of what my marriage had become. For years I normalized the dysfunction. I thought it was love. But it wasn't. It was fear, imbalance, and walking on eggshells. That night ripped the mask off, and in the rubble, I found something I'd lost, my own voice. I've learned to stand up for my dignity, that love isn't real if it costs you your self-respect. Rebuilding has been slow, but also freeing. I've reconnected with hobbies that bring me peace, hiking, woodworking, quiet mornings with coffee, and no one shouting over me. I've started therapy to work through the damage I didn't even realize I'd been carrying. It's helped more than I can say. My friends and coworkers, they've been incredible. Not just supportive, but real, showing up, listening, reminding me that I'm not alone. I'm not ready to date, but I know what I'll look for next time. Mutual respect, open communication, someone who sees me as an equal, not a target to control. I've started setting up my financial future too, investments, savings, and career goals that are mine alone. The house, once a shared space built on eggshells and silence, is now a blank canvas. I plan to renovate it, not for her, but for me. The pain from that night still echoes sometimes, but it doesn't define me anymore. I'm not the man who stood frozen on that stage. I'm the man who got back up, who survived betrayal, who found strength in the ashes, and who's writing a new chapter, this time on his own terms. And for the first time in a long time, I'm hopeful. The bravest thing Nick ever did wasn't confronting his wife. It wasn't the secret recording or the courtroom win. It was simply this. He walked away from something that no longer served him. And if you're stuck in a relationship where your voice doesn't matter, where love feels like emotional warfare, let this be your sign. You don't have to stay just because you've been there for years. You don't have to keep sacrificing your peace to keep someone else happy. You can leave. You deserve to leave. And when you do, you won't lose everything. You'll start finding yourself again. If this story hit close to home, or made you see your relationship in a new light, take a deep breath. You're not alone. So many of us are learning that real love shouldn't come with conditions, fear, or shame. If you want more stories that speak truth, remind you of your worth, and help you heal, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Because sometimes hearing one person's story is all it takes to finally rewrite your own.